Hello and welcome to episode 1254 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Thursday, February 8th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by Justin Mason. Justin, it's been a while. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I
Family,
appreciate
though.
those. Yeah, I appreciate everyone who has reached out to me, either via Twitter or email and stuff like that, asking, "Hey, where'd you guys go? What happened?"
Yeah, we took a couple
Um,
days off.
yeah, because usually I was supposed to record on Sunday with Jason, and then I was supposed to record with you on Monday, and uh, all of a sudden Saturday night. My eldest started feeling shitty after having had hosted a sleepover on Friday night. And
Mm-hmm.
then Danielle all of a sudden started feeling shitty. And then I tested all of them and they were positive for COVID.
Oh,
So I locked them in a room where they have not been allowed to leave for the last few days. But it left me with my 5-year-old, who both her and I did not test positive,
thank
kind
goodness.
of like, like in a spot where it's like, oh, I can't really step outside for like 90 minutes to record a podcast because I wasn't allowed to send her to school.
Yeah, and a
So
5-year-old just hanging out like,
yeah, she's just
the hell
chilling
do
on her
I do?
iPad, but the moment I start recording something, she's gonna be like, I want Cheetos.
Of course.
I appreciate everybody understanding. But 5-year-old back to school. The 13-year-old is going to go back to school tomorrow, and then my
Okay,
wife can come out of the room on Saturday just in time for the Super Bowl. So
excellent.
everybody's doing all
Yeah,
right,
time for her
but
Niners.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've been avoiding COVID like Neo from the Matrix. Like
that's exactly what I was going to compare it to. So thankfully you stayed healthy. That's good. Yeah, we missed a couple days, but we'll have today and tomorrow, and we'll be back on track next week. We're still doing our previews here. Got a little bit of news and notes, and we do have just about an hour, so let's go ahead and dive right in and talk a few of these news and notes before we get into a few more shortstop tiers, and then tomorrow we will finish the shortstops and be on to outfield. And we'll do 50 episodes on pitchers, I'm sure,
yep.
and wrap everything up. But let's start with Milwaukee making another move, this time an addition. So they've added some big power, first Rhys Hoskins and now Gary Sanchez. Obviously, he's going to be in that backup role behind William Contreras, probably going to get some DH looks as well, I would think, if his bat is hitting power the way he did last year with San Diego. This is a solid little move. I think it's totally fine, fine spot for him, good park. He hit 19 homers in 75 games, a rate that we probably can't expect for him to maintain. But what do you think of Gary Sanchez? Is he still on your radar in, standard two catcher? Does it have to be kind of a DC where we're drafting 3 or 4 catchers? What do you think about Gary Sanchez after the big power surge last year?
I think he's a pretty nice kind of backup option as a C2 and a 15 teamer, right? So like if I miss out on a lot of the guys that I really like as a C2, then Gary Sanchez is someone I'm going to take a shot at. Like I said, they can DH him, but he showed last year hitting 19 home runs and 267 plate appearances that he can make a big impact with a bat without getting a crap ton of plate appearances.
Yep.
So and catcher is a position where guys get banged up really, really easily. And who knows, maybe he, finds more playing time because William Contreras gets banged up or something. So, yeah, I think he's a really, really good C2 kind of backup option.
And it wasn't even like Sanchez had to get some exorbitant 42% homer to fly ball rate or anything.
Yeah.
It was at 23%, which is definitely strong, but he's a career 22%. And so it comes with a 217 average, but then the small sample mitigates that because it's only 267 plate appearances, 240 at bats to be exact, of the low batting average. I'll take the 19 bombs there. I agree with you. I think he's a viable backup with your 2 catcher leagues, and then definitely somebody who's already been on my radar in DCs. I actually speculated on him in one, and so I had no problem with that at all. All right, moving on here. Carlos Santana heading to Minnesota. This is an interesting signing here. Santana, is just a workhorse hitter. We often talk about workhorses in the form of pitching, but there's players, I think, position players who are workhorses. Obviously, the Iron Horse is Lou Gehrig, and then the Iron Man was Cal Ripken. They play a ton. He's not quite on that level. No one's playing 162 all the time anymore. but he just churns out 600 plus plate appearance seasons like it's his job as a league average quality bat, always getting on base. 23 homers, 86 ribbies, and 6 steals last year. 6 for 6 for Carlos Santana between Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. Goes to this Minnesota ball club. I think the bigger issue, and we'll get into it after you give me your thoughts on Santana, are some of the repercussions for other players. But what do you think of Santana signing on with the Twins?
It's kind of a nice little fit for them. Like they had a little bit of space once they moved Jorge Polanco over to
Yep.
Seattle, so it makes some sense. Will he be a full time bat? Uh, he just keeps doing it, so like I can't really
Exactly.
against it. But like he shouldn't be at this point of his career. Like, I mean, he should probably be in some sort of platoon or timeshare. And kind of specializing against hitting lefties more than he does against righties. But like, I think he's probably going to find his way to 500 plus plate appearances and
Yeah.
20 home runs. And he is a perfect DC kind of gamble.
Totally agree. When everyone's taking, this is exactly the kind of guy we're talking about, that when everyone's taking these prospects and speculating on these dudes that, might not even be up until the summer, you take yourself a Carlos Santana, you get your 500 plate appearances, could get another 6, but take your 500, that's almost guaranteed even at age 38, and you just lock in upper teens, low 20s homers. The average won't be great, but who cares? Give me some ribbies, some runs. Totally agree with you there. That's exactly the kind of fit where I really like a Carlos Santana. Now, I mentioned there are some repercussions for others, unfortunately, and we look at somebody like Edward Julian's not going to be in trouble by this, but he is playing second base. And so Willie Castro is going to go back and probably to that super utility role. And it maybe complicates things for those that might be waiting on like Jose Miranda to return to the majors, or somebody like a Brooks Lee to debut in the majors. So what did you think from that aspect of the Santana signing, the potential repercussions that others might feel from it?
Yeah. It is an interesting kind of fit because you do have like a lot of guys there who need the DH spot, and not to say
Yeah.
that Santana's going to DH every day or anything like that, but he's going to DH some, and he's going to play first, which is where Alex Kirilloff was kind of projected to go. So like right now, Roster Resource has Byron Buxton playing center. We know Byron Buxton is not going to play center; like he's going to DH the majority of the time, and so like I wonder if this gives a little discount on Willie Castro, because that's a discount I'm going to take, because I think Willie Castro is a full-time player this year. And he showed last year like he can be a difference maker in the speed department. So,
33 SBs.
yeah.
I'm with you. I think that this could lower his price for Willie Castro in a way that really makes him affordable. I don't think he's particularly expensive at this juncture already. Now, if this, pushes him down another couple rounds because people are really concerned, great. Let me jump in. I think he's multi-eligible too, right? You got to have at least 2 positions. I'm trying to pull it up
Yeah,
real
he's
quick
third in
here.
outfield.
Yeah, so infield, outfield, which we love. You get the
Mhm.
third corner outfield. That's 3 spots. He could add in season 2, depending on what your limitations are. Totally agree with you. It's a good spot to pick up Willie Castro, and he is going pick 307 right now. And I could definitely see that dipping into the mid 300s if people get worried. But even at 307, I'm totally fine with that pick too. So I got no issues there. I'm with you. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some Willie Castro on the cheap.
On the negative side, like I think this buries Jose Miranda. Like,
Yeah, he was
I mean,
already on the outside looking in.
yeah, like I didn't think he was going to make the major league roster, but now he's got another piece that soaks up a lot of plate appearances right in front of him.
Yep.
And so like it's really interesting, like when we have these prospects that like Jose Miranda was widely thought of as like a really, really good player.
What a
That was going
difference
to
a year
translate.
makes, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not as quick as a Matt Mervis fall off, but like, sometimes this is why prospects, are guys you shouldn't really want to invest too highly in, especially if they don't have like super loud tools or something, because they can go from being the flavor of the month, like Jose Miranda and Matt Mervis were, to like completely forgotten about.
Yep. And injury played a role in that with Miranda, but now his trek back, and he's gonna be 26, right?
Yeah.
Like there, you start to look at it and it's like, dang, that is a big fall off. Now, the one thing I would say with Miranda, if you do still like him and you are playing some DCs, he is dirt cheap. So if you want to put him on there and still spec on Miranda because you still believe, pick 671, not going to kill you. I made a devilish pick of him in one of my DCs at pick 666, but I'm not stocking up on him or anything. I don't want to forget him completely, but it is now a tough road to hoe to get back. The one thing, and you mentioned this earlier, they do have some guys with some major injury risk.
Yeah.
Mr. Paper Wrists, Alex Kirilloff, Byron Buxton. I love Royce
Paper
Lewis.
body.
Yeah, paper body, Byron Buxton, paper knees, Royce Lewis. Like, and I love all three of those guys, but you got to be honest. And Correa, you know, he could create some avenues that not directly from Miranda. He's not going to play short, but then people move around and it could open some doors that way. But you don't want to bank on that too much. I wouldn't overstock myself on Miranda.
I wonder if we're going to see a lot more of what the Twins did with Buxton last year in terms of really managing him with other guys. Like I don't know that I've heard anybody talk about this, but like Royce Lewis, like he has a massive injury tracker. I mean, just massive. People
Both knees.
Yeah. But like, why wouldn't they try to manage him and just try to keep him on the field by not letting him play every day? Like, I don't think that is baked into the potential of that is baked into the price at all on Royce Lewis.
They have a sharp bench too. Kyle Farmer, Nick Gordon, and Willie Castro's a nice little trio of guys that can all play different spots, all play infield, outfield. Hell, Farmer can catch on a random off day if you really needed him to. I mean, they've got Vasquez and Jeffers. They're not going to really ask Farmer to do that. But if they had to throw the gear on him, you know, they could. But yeah, flexibility, I totally agree. And, you know, if we don't see a team or two rise in the Central, as some people are predicting, I know you're on the Royals. We have talked about that. I love what my Tigers did to finish the year last year. And as much as they are annoying and I don't think they do enough with their talent, I'm not going to rule out Cleveland because they churn pitching out left and right. You can make a case for them. You can make a case for every team in that division except the White Sox. But if those things don't come to fruition and they are kind of coasting, then they should go kind of the workload management and focus on being fully healthy for October. So I agree with you there. All right, let's talk Clayton Kershaw re-signing with the Dodgers. It's kind of, I put duh on the list here because, like, of course, we knew. So what do you think on this one? We all pretty much expected it, but he's out for quite some time, I think, until mid-season? Or is it?
I think June, I think is what I saw. Okay. But I'm not 100% on that.
So what do you think on this? My guess is you're not drafting him anywhere, but I got to ask, is it, you know, unlimited ILs that would help? Where do you think it's shoulder surgery? It's going to be, you know, at least the summer, at least mid-June, I would think. Clayton Kershaw, somebody that you want to stash or just not a headache that's worth it to you?
Yeah. So I am in one league where, at least one league, I just joined a new league that I don't know much of the rules yet for. So I'll let you know.
First thing we always say, read your rules.
Yeah. Does Labor have an unlimited IL too? Or is it
I believe so.
So I'm maybe in two leagues that have unlimited IL spots. In that format, I would do it, right?
Okay.
Because he is going to be dirt cheap at the auction table or at the draft table. You can stash him. And when Kershaw has been on the mound, he has been an elite pitcher. I know he hasn't been on the mound quite as much, you know, as maybe earlier on in his career, but he's still like an elite pitcher when he is on the mound.
Innings.
So I think if I can get him for $1 or $2 at the end of an auction or kind of late in my draft, and I know I can be able to stash him on my IL and not worry about it. Yes. If I'm in a traditional format league where I've got 3 or 5 IL spots, I'm not doing it.
I'm with that.
There's a reasonable chance he's not back till August, right? Like one setback and all of a sudden he's not back till August. And like that is too hard in this day and age with the amount of injuries we get, especially from pitchers, to invest in a guy like that.
Yep. And they're not going to push him because we know the Dodgers are playing for October all the way. Yeah. If they can get 30, 40 innings out of him before the playoffs start, that's all they really care about. So if anything happens,
clearly they haven't looked at his October numbers.
Clearly, but they do still want him there despite the issues and the very unfortunate meltdown against Arizona that brought all that back up. He was kind of evolving from the Kershaw playoff, meme that we know, but then that meltdown was probably the worst of the bunch, a third of an inning and like 6 earned runs. So yeah, I'm totally with you. Unlimited ILs, Sure, I can take a look at it. Anything beyond that, not even on my board.
He
All right,
only has he only has one season in baseball. If you don't count his rookie season, right? He only has one season with an ERA over 303. His entire career. Like
and he's
I
played
just
for
kind of
16 years. That's
I went to go
insane.
change the page and just looked real quick at his ERA, and I went, "How is that even possible?" This is just career 248 ERA. Like he is, as much as I give him shit for the playoff stuff, as much as I hate the Dodgers, he's the greatest pitcher I've ever seen. Like and it's not even close.
It's
Like
close though. Pedro, come on, it's close.
oh yeah, okay, yeah,
He's the best
Pedro.
pitcher of his generation, but there are contenders.
Well, Pedro was towards the end of his
Pedro's
career,
the generation before him, but you did see him, and you said you didn't say of the generation. You said who you've seen. But anyway, that's splitting hairs. He's a god, and you can't go much deeper than that. You can maybe say Pedro, and I love Verlander. I don't put Verlander over Kershaw.
No,
I can't.
I
can't. It's Kershaw.
It's unreal numbers.
Yeah, he's an absolute god.
Even his worst xERA is 364.
That is so filthy. Like it's just unbelievable. So I hope he comes back and pitches well in the summer. But unless it's unlimited ILs, don't mess with it, y'all. Unless you're in league with us, go ahead, do it. Waste your spots. We don't care. Let's talk about the White Sox. We mentioned how they're probably the only team you can't make a credible case with to win that division. I just don't see it. You would need so many if. And again, I don't even think you could realistically come up with a scenario. But they did get an intriguing player by bringing in Dominic Fletcher from Seattle here. What do you think about this move? I thought this was kind of interesting. He started with Arizona last year, got moved over to Seattle in the middle of the season. Now a trade here for Christian Mena. Oh wait, was he? Oh, he was still with Arizona. I'm thinking of Dominic Canzone. Excuse me. Canzone's the one in Seattle. So pardon me. Dominic Fletcher going from Arizona to the White Sox. He's going to have a starting role, or at least a great chance at one. I shouldn't say it's guaranteed, but he has a great shot to be starting from day one. Are you intrigued by Dominic Fletcher as an everyday player with the White Sox?
Yeah, I mean, the question is is he a strong side platoon guy, or is he actually like a everyday full-time player?
Yeah.
There's nothing super special about Dominic Fletcher. But he's a guy who can kind of just do a little bit of everything.
And that's why you would want all of the PT. Let him be a compiler type.
Yeah, like he profiles as an accumulator. And probably a diet accumulator at that. Like he's not like his best tool is league average power. Like that, there's not much in there, but those of us who play 15-team leagues, it's a good park. He could play every day because the White Sox aren't very good. And that has value. Like, why couldn't he go 15-15?
AL only, not going to be expensive.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would totally take that gamble in AL only, or in even I think that, I mean, if I really thought I was talking about this I was on Bubba's podcast yesterday, and I can't remember who we were talking about, but I said we were talking about Jordan Hicks, because I say we overreact to spring training a lot. Like people go out and hit 4 or 5 spring bombs in the first week or two, or all of a sudden someone's throwing a new pitch, and we totally overreact. But a guy like Jordan Hicks, if he's actually throwing 5 innings at the end of spring training, that's something I will react to, because and I think Dominic Fletcher is another guy where I'll be looking at Mike Curlin's lineup trackers. If he's hitting against, both sides, that's important to me, because if he's hitting regularly against lefties, especially in a decent spot in the order, that makes him a lot more enticing than a strong side platoon guy who doesn't have much power or speed.
Absolutely agree. And then he becomes viable in 15-teamers. So keep some tabs on Dom Fletcher. Does have some upside. Not going to win you your league necessarily, but not a bad player who did a little something there in 102 plate appearances with Arizona last year. And then Gregory Santos. See, I thought these trades were linked. That's because I was mixing Canzone and Fletcher up, because I was like, why didn't they just trade them for each other? No, because it's not on that same team. So the White Sox then turned around and traded Gregory Santos to Seattle in a separate deal. And, the reason that this is interesting is because he was penciled in, the speculation was that he could be their closer. He had a pretty intriguing season last year. He's not going to go out and close with the Mariners. So I'm less concerned about Santos himself, unless you got some takes that you really want to get out there. More concerned with what the vacuum that he leaves in that closer's role for the White Sox. Who do you think could get that there? They got a bunch of guys that we could play congressman or reliever, and I would stump you left and right. But who the heck is going to close out there for Chicago for their 32 wins?
There's only one guy that would really stump me.
Shane Drohan?
Yeah, who the hell is that?
No idea, dude. No idea. What district does he? I bet he better be getting that Clean Water Act through that he was working on.
So, you know what the Chicago White Sox bullpen is right now?
What?
This is the graveyard of pitching prospects past.
Jesus, it really is.
Garrett Crochet, Tuki Toussaint, Devi Garcia.
Yep.
Like John Brebbia, like Prelander Baroa. Like, this is like a bunch of guys who at one point people were really, really excited about as minor league pitching prospects.
Absolutely.
That none of them turned into starters. And here we go. Right now we've got John Brebbia as the closer.
Yeah.
I think Lambert might get a shot. Like, I honestly don't even know. Like, I really, really don't even know. Like, who the closer is here. Like, this is, it's definitely not going to be Tuki Toussaint. It's definitely not going to be Devi Garcia. It's probably not going to be Tim Hill.
Could it be one of the guys they got back? Prelander Baroa?
That's kind of the guy I am thinking about. The only problem is, if they're trying to cut costs, do they want to give a guy who's an ARB guy?
Yep.
They might want to just say, like, Brebbie, you're the guy because you're 33 years old.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't care if your price gets raised because you won't be here next year anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Brebbia might be the dude, or Jimmy Lambert might be the dude. Or it might just be a mess. You might not see a single guy get to 12 saves.
Exactly.
But a bunch of guys get to 8. So
if you could pick, if you could dream on it and like not worry about any of the ARB stuff, who would it be for you? Because I think I have a pick.
I think it's Baroa if I could.
If it's not him, though, Crochet, because he showed some tantalizing.
Yeah. I think they want to try to make him back a starter.
Exactly. That's why I don't think that'll happen. But I don't know.
It definitely. I mean, if they were going to say, like, hey, we're going to commit to you in the bullpen, that would make a lot of sense because he does still have a very, very live arm when he's healthy. And he's shown the ability to pitch well at the major league level in short stints. So, but I think they do want to make him a starter. So, or at least try.
And I think that's worth doing, by the way. He's going to be 25 next year. He's a very live left-handed arm. You got to take that shot with Garrett Crochet. See if you can turn him into a 4 or 5 inning type, if not more. And then if it doesn't work, maybe he starts closing either at the end of the year or next year. If he just can't get the volume going, or if his control is just too wild. All right, that's it for the news. Let's move on to some shortstops here. We're going to do a couple of our tiers, and then, like I said, we'll finish it up tomorrow. Now, this tier is previously discussed Swiss Army knife, so they've been discussed either at second or third. Just curious if you have anything else on Ha-Sung Kim, who's going 89, and this is in 38 drafts from January 1st through, this would have been about a week or so ago that I pulled this data. So that, it's a little outdated here, but I didn't refresh it since I made these all at the same time. He's not going much differently, I can tell you that. So Ha-Sung Kim at 89, Edman at 167, or Rengifo at 247. Any of them got you going anywhere?
I mean, I feel the same I did when we discussed them previously. I think they all have a place. And neither St. Louis nor Los Angeles did anything to hamper Edmonds or Rengifo's playing time, which was a concern of mine, that either Edmund would get traded somewhere that maybe wasn't as appealing as St. Louis, or or the Angels would bring in someone to block off Rengifo. Neither team has done nothing. Now, that's partially because no team in Major League Baseball has done anything.
Yeah, you heard the news we just went through.
Yeah, like we haven't talked in a week, Yeah,
And those were
that
the
was
hot
yeah,
takes that we had.
yeah,
Excuse me.
exactly. So, um, things could still change with those guys, but right now, no, I like all of them at cost
Yep.
and for what they do.
I figured that, and that's where I'm at too. Let's talk in the middle class then. This is a really intriguing group, highlighted by Xander Bogaerts, pick 114, Dansby Swanson at 128, Tyro Estrada at 135, Trevor Story at 174, and Willie Adames at 189. Five veteran types, all who have put some numbers on the board. Some who have been superstar level. You know, Xander Bogaerts used to go with a double digit pick. Now he's down to 114. We've seen these guys do some things. We don't know if Adames is going to even be a Brewer to start the year. Maybe they keep making moves. We'll see. But what do we think about this group? Let's take them in order because I think all five merit some discussion. So let's start with Bogey. Everything went south last year for San Diego. It wasn't his fault. Again, we don't love that contract. Doesn't make a ton of sense, but he wasn't the reason that things didn't go well. So what do you think of Bogey in year two with them?
I was really down on Bogarts last year, and I was wrong. I mean, like I didn't see the stolen bases coming back in the way that they did. Problem is, they've got a brand new manager this year, and
So we don't know.
like we have no idea if that's going to continue or not.
Yeah.
He's just not a guy that I tend to go with as high as he is. I don't see a huge difference between Xander Bogaerts and other guys that are going around him or behind him, and so I tend to not take that gamble. But I don't have a problem with him. Like I think he's probably going to have high teens home runs, and maybe like low double digit stolen bases and score a fair amount of runs. The lineup around him is not going to be as good.
It's good at the top, but it drops. That
Well,
bottom
and
third right
you
now
don't know
is
when Machado is
dire.
going to be back.
True.
Soto's gone. Like this is not going to look as good, but it's still not a bad lineup necessarily. Like it's not
Yeah.
a barren lineup. So
And we both
I think
think
it's going to be fun.
Campusano is going to jump up this year too.
Yeah, we love Capasano.
So
So
yeah, no, and I'm with you on like the steals. Like at least he was super efficient. So even if a new guy comes in, who is their manager? I'm totally blanking.
I can't even remember.
God, we're terrible. But yeah, I cannot remember who it is for the life of me right now. But even if he does come put the brakes on some things, Bogarts went 19 for 21. So I don't think that, if he does say, hey, we're not going to run as much, I still think they should let Bogarts run. That's why you said low double digits as a decent projection. I think that's totally fair. So yeah, I'm totally in on him. What about
Oh,
our next?
Mike,
Oh,
Mike Schmidt.
Schilt.
Mike
Yeah, that's right.
Schilt,
Schilt,
yeah.
Schilt, Schilt, the former Cards guy.
Yeah.
And I guess we could look up his running. But either way, I don't think it greatly changes. Even if you think Bogarts is going to repeat the 19, sure. I would put him down for like 12 or 13 and then just take the extra 5 or 6,
Yeah.
6 or 7, I should say.
My projection
As
has 10.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Most of the projections here, the highest one is ATC with 12, and all the others are like 9, 10, 11, right? And so they're
Yeah.
all in a real tight group there, and that makes sense for Bogey. Okay, so Mike Schilt. Sorry about that, Mike. We had forgotten about you. What about Dansby Swanson? He was first year in a new spot after his big deal as well, and I think his season was even quieter with the Cubs. They had a decent year, kind of came up short at the end. The batting average came down a lot. I think that's probably why it was a quieter season. He lost 33 points, down from 277 to 244, but still hit 22 homers with 80 ribbies, 9 steals. I guess that's cutting in half, so that's another big deal. And then 81 runs. So all in all, still pretty good. Plays great defense, so it's a nice 5-win campaign. Nothing to be upset about with Dansby Swanson. But where are we at on him as a hitter? Because he had an excellent year in the walk season, came down predictably. Does he jump back up or does he live at this plateau, Dansby Swanson?
I think he comes back up a little bit. I mean, I think, new environment, new team, this is the whole Rick and Glenn thing, right? Like they don't like investing guys on first year big contract. And I think that there are a lot of instances you could point to say that, hey, guys struggle in their first year. And
It's a
like,
transition.
yeah. And so like, yeah, I mean, I think the batting average should come back up. He got a little unlucky in the BABIP department. It's not, I don't think he's going to like be a 270 guy again, but 260 feels a lot more fair for 255, 260, like feels a lot more fair for a guy like Swanson. I think,
Okay.
you know, a few more home runs, 24, 25 home runs, and we get back to double digit stolen bases. Like, I don't think that Dansby Swanson is a star, but I think he can be a dynamite accumulator on top of a really, really good lineup in Chicago.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. I don't think it's an unfair price for Dansby Swanson. If I land on him, it's okay. I don't seek him out, but I'm certainly not mad if I end up with Dansby Swanson. Tyro Estrada. I saw some interesting discussion about him. I want to say it was the Guilds who was using the steamer projection to kind of downplay taking Ha-Sung Kim versus Tyro Estrada. Now, my only qualm with that is I just really don't agree with the Ha-Sung Kim projection. It just didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Basically, it has like everything coming down for Ha-Sung Kim and everything either holding or getting better for Tyro Estrada. And I just don't really see those two players going that way. You can say that Ha-Sung Kim, you don't want to pay pick 90 for him and he's going to come down from what he did this past year, but I don't know. The overall comparison isn't terribly unfair. I just don't take that one projection to be the end all be all. Like, why do all the projections have Ha-Sung Kim hitting under 250? I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
I know he's a career an MLB 245 guy, but that's weighted down by a 202 his first year. And I'm not too worried about that. You talk about a transition with a new team within the MLB universe. What about coming clear across the world and trying to transition over here? Since 2022, in the last two seasons, he's a 256 hitter. That's more in line with what I see from him. So that was my main disagreement there, was just that I don't agree with the steamer projection. But comparing the two is not terribly out of pocket to me. If you think Kim's going to steal another 38, well, then that's a big edge over Estrada. But if you think he's going to come down to the mid upper 20s, well, then all of a sudden they do look a little close. Now, Estrada is somebody I have to take a fat L on. Remember last year, I was very much out on him. You're saying like, I don't see this at all. And he basically carbon copied with 11 extra points of batting average. So I took a fat L on Tyro Estrada. And so now I see the light. I think he is viable. I'm probably still not chasing him at pick 135, but I recognize his talent. What do you think of Estrada, and how do you think of that comparison to Kim? Do you think he's worth waiting the extra 40 picks, or do you still like Kim more with the positional eligibility and the upside?
I still like him, I think, at current cost. I can understand the argument. I think if you're just looking at straight projections for Tyro Estrada, there are some things that don't quite add up. Estrada has never had 550 plate appearances in a season.
541 and 530 the last 2 years. So he's really made the most of his time. That is impressive.
Yeah, which is great. But like, why are we projecting him to get to 600 plate appearances? He gets hurt. The Giants platoon a lot. Like, he's not a good defender. Like,
those are all good points. Yeah. Bad plate skills too.
Yeah. Like he makes a lot of contact in the zone, which is great, but it's not like particularly hard contact. I think the batting average comes back down to earth a little bit. And I think he kind of does what he did this last season, which is like 20 stolen bases and double-digit home runs. But
which is good.
Yeah, which is fine. But like, that was more enticing when you went, I'm getting him to pick 180, and I see this upside, not at 130. Yeah. Like, we're gonna talk about a guy in the next tier who's going like virtually the exact same spot where I'm taking him all day over Tyro Estrada. Tyro Estrada will probably not end up on a lot of my teams.
Yep, that's where I'm at. Like I said, not going to go anti Estrada the way I was last year. Say fine, take him. It's not a horrendous pick, not my cup of tea, but I do respect his kind of 12, 20 type of talent, but not the guy for me. Honestly, this next guy I'd just rather take. I'm in on a Trevor Story rebound at this price point. 174 seems fair enough for me to take a shot on a guy who has had a really strong career. He's always been a nice fantasy player. I think fully back this year, got to kind of tune up last year. It was only 168 plate appearances, but he really tuned himself back up. Probably got, hopefully got comfortable. Didn't do well. It was a 48 WRC plus, but just getting back on the field. You know how we feel about finishing on the field. I do like that. I think he's a nice buy here at 174 in his third year. Hopefully, his first full season with Boston, because now it's been 94 and 43 games. They need the 31-year-old Story to finally play a full season. I think he can, and I think he can get back to 2020. I tend to agree with the projections. Where do you stand on Trevor Story?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with the projections for the most part. I do think that he could be a 2020 type guy. Um, I do worry about the batting average.
That's
Like
fair.
one of the things like that is really really clear is if you look at his zone contact by season, all of a sudden moving from Colorado to Boston, he is a different player. Now, part of that can be
Mm,
chalked up to injuries, right? Like he's been
yeah.
injured the last 2 years since coming to Boston. A part of that is pitches don't move the same in Colorado. They stick in the zone too long, and you can hammer the shit out of them.
Yep.
And so he doesn't get that in Boston anymore.
Part
Uh,
aging, part environment, right?
yeah. And so like I do think like these last 2 years of 30% strikeout rates are part of the equation. May not be quite that high this year, but like I'm projecting him for like a 28.5% strikeout rate, which means the batting average is probably 240-ish.
Yeah.
So like I
I
think
agree with that, by the way. I want to be clear. Like, even though I like the 2020, I do agree that it's going to be hindered by batting average, and you want to draft some batting average supplement around Trevor Story.
that being said, getting a guy who can go 2020 at pick 170, like I'm
That's
fine
what
with
I'm
that.
saying. That's what I'm saying. So
Like,
that's why I'm in.
I'll take that all day
And
long.
even though Estrada might get him by 40, 50 points of batting average, it's a trade off I'm willing to take, because we can also get lucky on the batting average on balls in play and he hits
Mhm.
240, and then it's only a 20, 30 point difference. And then I'm way cooler with that at the 2 round
Yeah.
discount. And then what about our boy Adames? We have speculated that maybe Milwaukee trades him next. They made the big move with Burns. Devin Williams and Adames, I think, are the two big pieces that they could still trade even as soon as before spring training here or in spring training. That's not an unheard of situation either. But for now, he's with Milwaukee. What do we think of Willie Adames? Power guy, usually has a tough batting average. It dropped big time last year down to 217, but still 2480. Do we still like Willie Adames at age 28?
So if I seem kind of blasé about the rest of this tier, it's because I am just waiting for Willie Adames. Like
Yep.
that is my dude. He has been my dude for a really really long time, and I feel like he is being criminally underrated for getting unlucky on balls in play last year. And
259 BABIP, dude.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
like
happening again. I just don't see
yeah,
it.
like he's like I look over at like the Bad X projection, which I think is like spot on. It's a 248 batting average, 28 home runs, 7 stolen bases. Like you're getting that
It's
at
exactly
pick
what I see.
190, and because I want that on every single team. Like he has
Yep.
been my go-to shortstop, especially when I miss out on like some of the elite guys. Like I often just wait and go like, okay, I'm just not going to take a guy. I'll jump Willie Adames into like the 160 territory to make sure I get him, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, this is exactly why I'm not going Swanson, Estrada very often, or even Bogey, who I do love
Yep.
more than you. But this is why, because I'll take my shot. And again, we have to, especially with Bogey, he's going to have a way better average than Story and Adames. So
Yeah.
that, it is a different story there, and you are paying the premium for it. But if I've got batting average covered and I don't really need it at the Bogarts price, I wait, and Story and Adames come into focus for me.
I mean,
And
you're getting Adames 75 picks later.
that's such a great discount. And, not that we're projecting it, but there's a world where he can hit 260 again. He hit
Yeah,
262
absolutely.
in 2021,
Mhm.
259 in 2020. Like, what if the BABIP actually goes in his favor for the first time in a while? Because it was 278 2 years ago, 259 last year. So, yeah, there's absolutely a world where Adames really pops off. But even if he's just kind of status quo at 189, doesn't hurt me at all. So I'm with you. I love him. If he gets traded, we can reassess, but I can't envision a scenario where he's going to get traded to somewhere where I'm really going to feel much worse about him, because he's probably going to go to a contender. And, who has the worst park of a contender? Like, it might be worse than Milwaukee, but I don't know. There's no cavernous spot that he would go to, right?
No, I mean, as long as he doesn't end up back in Tampa where
I was gonna
he's
say that.
like I don't really
Since you
care.
can't see there. Yeah, as long as he avoids that fate, then I think I'm golden here with Adamas. So I
I mean,
co-sign
I don't
that
want to
with
see
you.
him in San Francisco, but like even in San Francisco, I'd be okay with it.
I
Like
said contenders, Justin.
they think they're contenders.
I know. You're right. I just want to
Which
tweak you a
actually,
little
I don't
finer.
know if they do or not because they're not acting like one. So maybe
True.
they finally realize what they are, which is not very good.
Maybe they think they can sneak in, which who knows. But it's a lot harder now with Arizona contending. In addition to the Dodgers being great, of course, the Padres still have a lot of talent, even though we know their lineup's going to be worse. All right, how's time check going here? We got some time for some
We
upside
got
youngsters.
15 minutes.
Okay, yeah, let's get into these upside.
I think some of
youngsters.
these we can go through pretty quick.
Yeah. So we got Anthony Volpe at 132. Then we jump down big time to Ezekiel Tovar at 197, Jeremy Pena at 221, Jackson Holiday at 222. Put a green arrow next to that one. That's going to go up and up and up. There's been some discussion about him breaking camp. Is going to be higher. Vaughn Grissom at 238, and then Zach Neto at 267. Let's start with Volpe since he is kind of on an island here at 132. I just thought this was a better tier to put him in than the middle class because he hasn't really proven anything yet, whereas that middle class at least has a couple seasons under their belt. Still had a pretty good fantasy season despite the horrendous batting average. Like the fantasy categories were there with the power and speed, and credit to him, excellent defense, got himself a gold glove when that was the one thing that I was really, really sour on with him. And that's why I thought Oswald Peraza had a chance to take that job from him. So I got that one wrong, but he went 21-24, but with a 209 average, he just did not earn that top 100 draft pick that he was going at by the end. Where are you at on year 2 for Volpe, though? Should he be going cheaper? Is this too high? Or do you think that he can, now that his feet are settled, 259 BABIP was pretty low, can he have like a big breakthrough?
I mean, I think the batting average may be a problem again this year, but I don't think it's going to be 209 bad. But the fact that he plays such good defense, he's got power and speed, like he's going to play every day. Like I think they showed a lot of faith in Volpe that like they didn't send him down last year. Like
I loved that.
Yeah, like they let him play 159 games. Like that showed a lot of faith in the young stud. And I've got a lot of faith in him too. I think this is a fine price. I have drafted Volpe multiple times already. I think the upside is massive. Like I would not be surprised if we get a 30-30 season at some point. Like not only did like they show a lot of faith in terms of just allowing him to stay in the majors, like they hit him high up in the lineup a number of times after, yes, he moved down the lineup as the season went on because he was struggling, but like even by the end of the season, he was hitting 5th, 6th, 2nd. Like they really, really like Anthony Volpe. I really like Anthony Volpe. So like, yeah, I got no problem where he's going. Honestly, don't have a problem jumping him around.
I co-sign that too. I really, I'm a little annoyed that the market is pretty tight on him. I was kind of hoping that we would get a discount, but maybe it's that New York tax, or people just seeing 2020 and saying, "Hey, I don't believe a 259 BABIP is going to happen."
2020 is a rookie.
2020 as a rookie who struggled, but he kept his head, and the Yankees kept the encouragement with him. And I really, really appreciated that from the Yankees standpoint too, that they didn't just send him down at the first chance, because they could have been justified, right? Like, it's like, NFL coaches that punt. Yeah, you were justified to punt because everyone punts. It would have been one of those things that, yeah, they could have sent him down and nobody would have said anything. It takes a little something to say, hey, we're going to stick with our guy. We believe in him. That gives me some encouragement for him. I like Volpe as well. Ezekiel Tovar was a popular pick last year. Hey, you got a guy who has the glove to play every single day, and he plays in Colorado with a little bit of punch and some speed. Sign me up is what everyone was saying. I was a little more tepid on him last year, but it ended up not going so well, but he did play the full year. So again, you got to be encouraged by the fact that they stuck with him despite the struggles. Now he had a 70 WRC plus, and I've always made my point that I think WRC plus is a little too harsh on Colorado players because he had a 695 BABIP, 695 OPS, which I'm not saying is good, but I don't know. I know Colorado boosts, but obviously leaving Colorado also hurts, and I don't think WRC plus accounts for that. So I don't think he's quite that bad, but his 15 homers, 11 steals in 153 games though. So the playing time is locked as long as he can keep picking it. Do we think there's more from Tovar here, or are we worried that he's a little bland?
I mean, this is fine. Like, I mean, we're talking about a guy going, around pick 200. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna play every day. He's got a little bit of pop, a little bit of speed. Because he's in Colorado, he's not, his batting average isn't going to kill you because he gets all that BABIP help. Yeah, that's fun. Like, he's an accumulator. Like, I think the problem is people go, "Ooh, top tier prospect," and they go, "He's going to be a stud." No, sometimes guys are just fine, and that
Exactly.
is like, a guy like Tovar is such a highly rated prospect in part because of his
Because of
defense.
his glove.
Yeah, his
Pete Crow
defense keeps
Armstrong.
him. Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, like I don't think this is a bad price necessarily. I'm going to
Mm-mm.
probably not take Tovar and take Jackson Holiday or Vaughn Grisham or Zach Neto, but
Yeah, I
uh,
got other guys, but if Tovar's your guy, I'm not going to say that you're out
yeah,
of pocket on that. He's the 14th. He was 14th ranked on the auction calculator last year at shortstop.
yeah,
Despite
that's
this,
fine.
like this, that's fine. So yeah, I think it's a totally fine pick, especially if you see some upside with him. I don't necessarily see that, but hey, you can always get BABIP lucky anywhere, literally, but you can really get BABIP lucky in Colorado. So I can totally see people wanting to
15
stick
home
with him
runs, 13 stolen bases, 250 something batting average. Like that's totally fine.
with a chance to go 275 if the BABIP luck goes in
Yeah,
his favor.
yeah.
Jeremy Pena. Now he's a guy. All the excitement after the first year. Here we go. This guy's ready to break out. I didn't see many people pushing back on him. There were a few pockets, and credit to those folks. Justin pointing to himself, for those of you not watching on YouTube, saying, tap the brakes here. There are some concerns, and those concerns came to fruition in a big way. Ends up hitting 263, 324, 381. The slug dropped from 426 to 381. The homers went in half, actually more than in half, from 22 to 10, despite almost 100 more plate appearances, Justin. 11 to 13 steals, but fewer ribbies, more runs. But yeah, it was a tough sophomore campaign. Thankfully, like Tovar, he can pick it, so he got to play all the time. So at least you were getting some accumulation there. But it was a tough second season for Pena. Where do we go from here? Can he go back up toward 2022, or was that just going to be his best season and it's going to stay up there as his high water mark?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's some mix between these two. Like, I don't think that he's a 10 homer guy. It's probably like a 15-10 kind of guy with a decent average that plays and accumulates, right? Which
Yep.
is fine as a middle infield option in your 15 team leagues. But like, I think we talked about this on the last episode or maybe the episode before that. Like just because a prospect has a good season doesn't mean that good season isn't going to be their best. And I think that
Exactly.
like I think people overrated. People were so enthused, like he was a super deep sleeper. When he was rookie, I remember like James Anderson like whispering to Rob Silver's like get Jeremy Pena, and I was like, ooh, that's a good
Well, and the
little hint.
playoff
And
run too.
yeah,
Don't forget, he
and
capped it off with a hot playoff run in 2022 for Pena.
and he was right on that call. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Pena that first year was absolutely unreal for a guy that went undrafted in a lot of formats. But just because a guy is good out the gate doesn't mean he's going to stay good. And I think he's kind of just a meh player, a boring accumulator, which is fine because he will accumulate, but not a guy that I'm necessarily targeting.
Yeah, I think that that's all fair, and he's a little bit cheaper than Tovar. So if you don't want the Colorado guy and you want to maybe go for a guy with a little bit more punch, because I agree, I don't think Pena's a 10 homer guy. Maybe you go Pena's way, but they're kind of similar to me in terms of composite value. Jackson Holiday, it's 222 right now. If you like him, get in some drafts now and get him because the price is only going to go up. Mike Elias was interviewed, I think it was on Sirius XM, talking about how there's going to be avenues to get him on the team. He's going to have a chance to break camp. They could see him playing second and short throughout the year. Just a lot of positivity about Jackson Holiday. In fact, even just since I did the data poll, whenever I did this like a week ago, and it's now 59 drafts since the first, and it's 217. So to move 10 picks over the course of 20 more drafts is pretty big. Like that's a pretty big jump up. Actually, excuse me, it's only 5 picks, so it's not that sharp yet, but it's going to be. And this is one of those guys that, like Volpe, if he shows out in spring or gets declared to be on the team, then he's a top 100 type pick. Do you agree with that on Jackson Holiday?
Yep. I mean, like
And,
I'm shocked that like I understand like Wyatt Langford was just unreal good in the minor leagues
mhm.
after getting drafted, but like why have people been thinking that Wyatt Langford has a better chance of making the opening roster than Jackson Holiday? I
I'm
mean,
not sure, especially with the outfield situation in
exactly.
Texas.
Like there is no one blocking Holiday if the Orioles do want to go that route. There's a number
Specifically,
of
yeah.
guys, yeah. There's a number of guys in Texas blocking blocking Langford.
Hmm.
So, you know, I think both guys are probably on the opening day roster, and I think both guys are going in the top 100 once we get to our late March drafts.
Yep. And I did narrow it down to the last 10 drafts of draft champions for Jackson Holiday, and it is up to 211. So that is an 11
Yeah.
pick jump in a short period. And like I said, it's only going to go up and up and up. So if you like him, you better get in now or stay committed, right? That's the thing too. Like, don't buy him and then the price goes up and you don't want to get him anymore. I understand it's better when he's cheaper, but if you really love him, stick with him even as the price rises. I think that's one of those things that can be tough, but if you really like a guy, get him all the way through. Vaughn Grissom, we talked about after the trade, so we don't have to deep dive here, but he's going to be a dude in Boston. Should have, kind of the bead on the second base role. I don't see any reason that, you're trading him for Chris Sale and you're not going to play him. Vaughn Grissom, somebody who you're targeting?
Yeah, I mean, and his ADP has gone up a lot. I'm gonna be doing my second round of ADP market movers starting tonight, and I assume when I get to shortstop, he's going to be one of the top guys in terms of movement because since
Gotta
that
be.
trade, you know, people have been really really excited. I mean, this is a guy that we said like he can hit, he just can't play defense. Well, clearly Boston doesn't care, so Boston's going to let him play,
Well, and he's
and
moving to second too, so there's a little bit,
yeah,
less, burden on you at second versus short. We knew he couldn't
absolutely.
play short in Atlanta, and that's why I was just so out on him last year.
Yeah, but we're talking about a guy who is like a 20% strikeout rate guy, and he's got pop and a little bit of speed. Like, I don't think he's a superstar by any stretch of the imagination, but like if he gets 600 play appearances, like he could be a 2020 guy, and you're getting that at this point in the draft is a pretty sweet bargain.
I forgot to ask this on Holiday, and I want to ask it on Grissom too.
Mhm.
What's your break point on price for Holiday first? He breaks. He's breaking camp. They're saying it. It's March 23rd. He's confirmed. What are you paying for Jackson Holiday?
Probably top 75.
Okay,
Um, I don't think he jumps up, at least for me, into the same areas that guys like Bobby Witt Jr.
bingo.
And Julio Rodriguez. Do I think he will be like a future like first or second round pick? I think he probably is,
Certainly has a chance to be. Yeah.
but like he doesn't have the flashy numbers that like J Rod and Bobby Witt were putting up in the minor leagues. Like
Well,
uh,
in fairness, it's because he's been in the minor leagues for 5 seconds. This is Jackson Holiday we're still
that's
talking
true,
about.
but
But your point is taken. Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about Grissom then? What's the break point on his price? It won't rise nearly as much. He's pretty much locked into the team already. But as things get going and people see him in spring, I do think the price will trickle up. Are
Maybe
you
like
paying?
175 ish.
You hit the exact number I was going to ask. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would pay that too. 175 would be totally fine for me there. Zach Neto, our last guy here, 267. One of those, quick risers that the Angels have really been honing in on the last couple years. Was doing well, but got hurt, I think, multiple times. That really kind of interrupted this first season. Ends up with 84 games, 9 homers, 5 steals. 225, 308, 337 slash line is pretty rough. What do we think he can do if he can stay healthy and play every day? You like him to be somebody that you're after?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Neto, and I feel like people are kind of discounting him a little bit because of the injury, right? He missed so much. He did miss a fair amount of time last year, but in a half season, put up 9 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Like, why can't he be a 20-10 guy
Yeah.
with a good, like a decent batting average? You know, he showed good batting averages in his short trips to the minors. So yeah, I like Neto, especially if he seems like he's going to bat towards the top of that lineup. I don't know if you could hear Kyle Gibson showed up in my
I
house.
heard Kyle. He's finally moved out of here. He
Yeah,
hasn't been able to find me since I moved, so now he's out there
it's
hanging out
it's
with you.
weird. You would think he'd be in St. Louis right now, but You
or
know,
at least in Jupiter, Florida, getting ready for the season.
yeah.
But here
Hmm.
he is in the Bay Area doing
Yep.
some fine
Maybe he's wine
landscaping.
tasting this weekend or something like that.
It makes sense, and he wants to earn a few bucks to pay for the wine. He wants to get
Yep.
that expensive stuff, so that's fair. But yeah, Zach Neto, I think it's a fair price if you like him, especially. He should play every day if his body, doesn't give out. He's only going to be 23, and thankfully it's our last guy anyway, so we're good. But yeah, I think Neto's fair at his price. I got no issues with him there. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. You got to go pick up your child, and tomorrow we will finish shortstops. We got the last bit, our last handful of tiers, and we'll get into the real nitty gritty deep dive there and finish up shortstop. Justin, great talking with you. Glad the family's recovering, and I'll talk with you in the morning.
Take it easy.